In this video, we're diving into the brand new HiFi Rose RS151 network streamer. HiFi Rose is a relatively new name in the performance audio world, but they've quickly made a big impression with their innovative products. The new HiFi Rose RS151 is designed to deliver an incredible high-res audio experience, replacing one of Audio Advice's favorite streamers, the RS150B. While the new model may look similar to its predecessor, it brings some significant upgrades, many of which were inspired by feedback from RS150B users. I'll walk you through these improvements and everything else that you need to know in this video. But before we get started, we also have reviews on all of HiFi Rose's products and a brand overview if you want to learn more about different models that they offer. I'll leave links to all of those down in the description below. Let's get started. For those of you just getting into high-res audio, let's first explain how a product like this new RS151 works. This is a DAC and music streamer that is all inside one box. Music streamers like this can pull in music from the internet or use locally stored music files. At that point, the music is still in the digital domain and you have to convert it into analog to be able to have it played back on a stereo system. That is the role of the DAC, or digital to analog converter. The quality of the DAC can make all the difference in good or bad sound. After the internal DAC converts your music to analog, you hear it by connecting the RS151 or another music streamer like this to your existing audio system via an analog input. Or some people would just connect the RS151 to a power amp and a pair of speakers, or even simply a great pair of powered speakers. The earlier model, which was the RS150B, absolutely nailed it in terms of audio quality, and HiFi Rose has upgraded both the audio performance of that RS150 and its functionality to make the new RS151. And best yet, as of today, January 30th of 2025, the price is the same. So let's take a look at the upgrades they've implemented into the new RS151. First, they've increased the size of the touchscreen on the front from 14.9 to 15.9 inches and increased the resolution so that you have a screen that you can easily interact with and clearly see even from across your room. To some, this screen is a pretty big deal, and we're happy to see that they've taken time to improve it. Now, it's no secret that there are plenty of music streamers like this on the market, but we haven't really seen any with screens as big and beautiful as HiFi Rose offers, as well as a user-friendly and intuitive user interface. And of course, without a great user interface, accessing your music can be confusing and frustrating. So just because a piece of gear sounds good doesn't mean that it will be a joy to use like HiFi Rose streamers are. So to keep the super sleek look of the front panel display, the RS151 is milled from a solid block of aluminum just like its predecessor. This helps reduce internal vibrations, but best of all, gives the unit a look that totally matches its price. You can get the RS151 in black or silver, and its full audio size at 17 inches wide to match other components in a rack. They also have added physical mute, power, and volume up and down buttons right on the top of the unit. Now, the next upgrade is for those of you with huge downloaded or ripped libraries. The new RS151 can now manage up to 1 million songs, a big increase over the 150B. Just like the 150, you can use the CD ripping app and connect an external CD drive to play them directly or convert them into audio files onto your unit. All of the rest of the cool features of that RS150B remain, including the curated list of YouTube videos that they've put together and things like their Rose Radio and Rose Tube apps. That is actually another difference here in the HiFi Rose has over most other streamer DACs, is that it has video out for YouTube and can display what is playing right on your TV. Now, it also still runs on an Android operating system, which also means HiFi Rose can improve things at no charge to you over time. As a matter of fact, AirPlay was not originally present on HiFi Rose products, but it was added later on with an update free of charge. And just like a smartphone, you can rearrange or delete your apps on the home screen and set things up to your liking. You get access to things like Tidal, Spotify, Qobuz, Apple Music, and even that Rose Tube app that we talked about, which is essentially just their version of YouTube, and so much more. It also is room ready, plus an Audio Advice favorite is how you can change the screen to be just a cool display to match other components you have in your system. This is truly a full-featured digital control center where all you need is a power amp and speakers, or even an awesome pair of powered speakers. When you look at the back of both of these units, you can see just how much that they've added to the new RS151 compared to the old model, and they totally remapped the back to fit everything there. You can connect it up to your amp or speakers using either RCA or balanced XLR outs, and the connectors on the rear are much nicer now, and they are as solid as they come. You can select variable or fixed output to allow it to be a preamp with variable out or as a source in an audio system with fixed out. You'll have plenty of options for digital inputs such as USB, optical, coax, AES EBU, and HDMI eARC instead of ARC, which was on the 150B. With the upgrade to eARC, the HDMI input now supports up to 24-bit 192K high-res audio from an HDMI source, which is great to see and was another big user request. HDMI eARC is super cool in itself as it lets music lovers use their great audio system to improve their TV sound without compressing your audio like ARC does. eARC also allows your TV remote to control and turn on and off HiFi Rose products and adjust its volume if it's set to variable, so you can easily get TV sound to play through your much better speakers pretty much seamlessly. Okay, next, the RS151 also now officially supports PCM 24-bit 384 kHz and DSD 128 formats via the coax and AES EBU inputs. The other inputs vary in type of signal that they can handle, which I'm just going to show on the screen here rather than rattling them all off. But suffice it to say, they are all pretty much the extreme of what you can get these days. There's even an analog input should you wish to attach a legacy analog source, but bear in mind that his signal will be converted to digital. Now, there's also more digital outputs on the RS151 than you typically see. You have USB, coax, optical AES EBU, and I2S HDMI. We see these being used by people with a very good external DAC who love the user experience of the RS151 that it offers as a streamer. In addition, HiFi Rose has added a much requested feature, which is a trigger in and out. If you're using the RS151 as an all-digital preamp, this is going to let you send a signal to almost any modern power amp that will power it on and off in sync with the RS151. Another great add is the upgraded Bluetooth, which almost seemed like an afterthought on the older RS150B with the external dongle that you had to use. Well, the RS151 now has an antenna module built right onto the rear and has moved up to aptX and Bluetooth 5.4, both offering better audio quality should you choose to use the Bluetooth feature. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the DAC plays a huge role in the sound of a unit, and the DAC inside the RS151 is probably the most major upgrade here. The RS151 uses the latest ESS ES9039PRO. This 8-channel DAC is the best sounding one in their lineup and is the main reason the new model outperforms the prior one. ESS has put a lot of new tech into this DAC, including Hyperstream, to further reduce jitter and distortion, allowing those tiny, subtle musical expressions to come through so much better. In our initial listening, comparing it to the RS150B, we found it was just warmer and it pulled us closer to the music. A lot of this is due to the better ESS DAC, which any other brand could also include in their product, but how you support a DAC and the circuitry around it can make or break the sound that reaches your ears, and this is where the RS151 really stands out. First, they use a sophisticated toroidal linear power supply to minimize noise and provide perfect power to all of the critical components. They also totally isolate the audio path from the power supply. In the RS151, they have added even more improvements to their already great design. The resistors are now high-end, specific for audio MELF resistors, while the caps are now from Wima, a brand that you see used in uber high-end audio gear. To enhance the stability of the power supply, they've also changed from standard decoupling capacitors to a low ESR and high ripple decoupling type. And the ground has been upgraded from a standard plain ground to a single point ground. While all of this might seem pretty technical, the end result is lower noise and distortion. As a matter of fact, the signal to noise ratio went from a very already good 121 dB to an astounding 131.4 dB. Now, there's still a few more upgrades here. It uses a new Rose NRA filter, which stands for Noise Reduction Analog. This new tech enables flat frequency response down to almost 10 Hz, which is quite impressive too. Plus, with computer processing power always improving, we expected to see a faster processor in the RS151, which we certainly get with a new 8-core CPU that runs even faster and offers even more seamless playback of high-res audio. And finally, for those of you who love the sound of DSD or are curious serious about it, the RS151 can upconvert PCM to DSD512, so you can hear why so many people like the sound of DSD. Underneath the unit, you can still install an internal SSD hard drive of up to 4 terabytes for additional storage on the unit. They did remove the micro SD on the back though, but you can also attach up to 10 terabytes of external storage, such as a NAS or USB drive via either of their USB ports on the rear of the unit. So if you have a collection of high-res music and 4K videos stored on an external drive, you can simply plug it into the RS151 and control it all right from the front touchscreen, or even connect it to your TV and see it on the big screen. It's truly a high-performance DAC streamer that is just an extremely flexible, high-end audio multimedia hub. Now, when we fired it up for the very first time, the display lit up with a familiar lineup of icons. You have music, video, Qobuz, title, clock, settings, in-out settings, along with a handful of Rose-specific options like Bugs, Rose FM, Rose Podcast, Rose Radio, Rose Store, Rose Tube, CD Play, and CD Ripping. Tapping into settings gives you control over things like display brightness, clock format, and the look of the VU meters. Then there's the in-out setting icon, where you can configure digital or analog external inputs to internal, decide where they default, and choose between digital or analog outputs. If you go with analog, you get even more fine-tuned control, selecting from multiple FIR filters, adjusting the output level, variable or fixed, resampling digital audio if needed, inverting polarity, and even correcting the bottom 8 bits when dealing with 32-bit audio sources. Now, when we first tested the RS150, we streamed everything from funk to rock to classical, EDM, jazz, and it delivered an incredible listening experience. The DAC in that unit had a way of pulling out harmonics and instruments that just made everything from the audio and 4K videos to high-res tracks sound more natural, almost like a live concert was unfolding right in the room. Now, when I was listening to that, I found myself constantly going back to high-res versions of classic American rock hits, and on a great pair of speakers, the RS150's DAC separated details in a way that really made the music come alive. The lead guitar in Black Magic Woman by Santana had a rhythmic flow that just felt right, with a pacing that got my feet tapping right away. The bongos and organs floated outside the speakers with a holographic realism that was almost eerie in how lifelike it sounded. And when I played the live version of Guinevere from Crosby, Stills & Nash's 2012 performance, the tiny harmonics of the plucked acoustic guitar resonated like a concert hall, sending chills right down my spine. The RS150 captured all those fine details, the kind that make you feel closer to the performance you're listening to. Now, with the new RS151, we decided to put on the same exact test tracks to hear how it compared. Right away, the upgraded DAC, it stood out. The sound was warmer, more organic, and undeniably more analog-like, almost as if a layer of digital sheen had been just stripped away, leaving behind something richer and more natural. The lead guitar in Black Magic Woman had even better tonal depth with a silkier sustain that made the notes feel more expressive. The bongos had more texture, and the way they extended beyond the speakers felt even more three-dimensional. That same live version of Guinevere still gave me chills, but this time, the plucked guitar strings had an even more lifelike resonance, as if I could feel the vibrations in the air. The DAC upgrade, along with the other refinements in this new RS151, made a noticeable difference, bringing out even more depth, warmth, and natural harmonics that just make the music feel truly alive. Now, I know many people are going to be wondering that click this video, is the new RS151 worth the upgrade if you own the RS150? Most of the time when a company releases an updated version with what seems like just a few upgrades, we typically don't recommend moving up unless there is a very specific feature that you really want in the new one. This really isn't the case with the new RS151. If you own the RS150 and you're looking for a better overall sound and experience, you have our go-ahead to upgrade to this new RS151. We were just that impressed with it. If you're looking at a music streamer in the $5,000 range, this is probably going to be one of our very top picks. If you can go above that, our next options would be to look at HiFi Rose's RS130 streamer, or maybe even the NAD M66. Each is going to have their pros and cons, so if you're unsure, you should reach out to our experts who can evaluate which one would be the very best for you. Alright, this wraps up our take on the new RS151 streamer from HiFi Rose. I hope this overview has given you some insight about this cool high-performance network streamer. To learn more about HiFi Rose network streamers, integrated amps, and their CD drive, be sure to check out those individual reviews linked down in the description. If you have further questions and you want more info, be sure to give us a call, chat with us, or stop by one of our award-winning showrooms. Also, leave a comment down below. Let us know what you think of this new RS151, if you'll be picking it up, or what you think of the upgrades. And thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, hit the subscribe button, and turn on the notifications so you never miss out on any of the latest home audio and home theater content. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.